For hundreds of years, this man was one of the reasons cities survived the night. People waited for him. They recognized his footsteps. Children knew if he had passed through the street, everything was all right. The street no longer belonged to the darkness. He was the lamplighter, a man with a long pole, a tiny flame at the end, and a route he knew better than his own home. Before electricity, the city at night was not romantic, it was dangerous. Dark alleys, mud, thieves, carriages, holes in the road, fog. Night was not a time for comfort, night was a problem. And the lamplighter was one of the people who solved that problem. In London, the tradition of street lighting is often traced back to the 15th century. As early as 1417, Mayor Henry Barton ordered that lanterns should be hung in the streets during winter evenings. This was not yet a modern lighting system, but the idea had already appeared. A city should not disappear after sunset. Centuries passed, gas networks appeared, city contracts appeared, regular routes appeared, and the lamplighter became part of urban infrastructure. He was not just a worker, he was the person who returned the city to its people every evening. And then humanity invented a kind of light that no longer needed a human being. From a distance, it almost looks like a beautiful profession. A dark street, a man walking with a pole, one lamp lights up, then a second, then a third. But if you come closer, the romance disappears quickly. The lamplighter worked in cold, rain, wind, fog, and snow. He had to complete his route before darkness fully settled, because if he was late, the street fell into blackness, and in the morning, he had to return and put the lamps out, so the gas would not burn for nothing. His day was split in two, early morning and evening. He worked when everyone else was either still asleep or already closing their doors for the night. His tool was simple, a long pole with a mechanism for opening the lamp and lighting the flame, but simple did not mean easy. He had to raise his arms hundreds of times, move around carriages, mud, crowds, dogs, drunk men, and policemen. Every lamp was a separate little problem. One was hard to open, another went out in the wind. A third stood on a corner where there was always a draft. A fourth had to be lit a little earlier because it stood near a dangerous alley. And in this there was a strange pride. The lamplighter did not know the city like a map. He knew it like a living thing, where it was afraid, where it breathed, where it needed light. The lamplighter was part of the city system, not as visible as the police, not as respected as doctors, not as rich as factory owners. But without him, the city became different in the evening. Street light changed how people behaved. Shops could stay open longer. People could return home more safely. Neighborhoods became less frightening. City life stretched beyond sunset. The lamplighter was the final link in a huge chain. Gasworks, pipes under the streets, city authorities, maintenance companies, routes, schedules, inspections. But he was the one who made the whole system visible. Before he arrived, gas was just a resource. After he arrived, it became light. And this matters. The disappearance of the lamplighter was not simply the story of one person losing a job, it was the story of a city no longer needing a human ritual. Before, light appeared because someone came. Then light appeared because someone pressed a switch. Later, light appeared because a system decided it was dark. And somewhere between those three worlds, the human being disappeared. Thomas Edison was not fighting lamplighters. He was fighting gas companies. In the late 19th century, gas was a massive business. It lit homes, streets, theaters, and shops. Gas companies had money, infrastructure, and political influence. Electricity did not arrive as a beautiful dream of the future. It arrived as a competitor. In 1882, the Pearl Street station began operating in New York. Its beginning was modest, a small service area, a few dozen customers, a few hundred lamps. But the important thing was not the scale of the launch. The important thing was the proof. Electric light could be produced, distributed, and sold from a central system. For gas companies, it was a threat. For the city, it was progress. For ordinary people, it was convenience. And for the lamplighter, it was the beginning of the end. The cruelest part of this story is that no one specifically wanted to destroy him. No one said, "Let us get rid of the lamplighters." A new system simply appeared, and in that system, he was unnecessary. That is the real terror of progress. It rarely arrives as an enemy. More often, it arrives as an improvement. Lamplighters did not disappear in a single night. That is exactly why their story matters. If every gas lamp had gone out tomorrow all at once, it would have looked like a catastrophe. There would have been protests, newspapers, arguments, fear, but it happened slowly. First, electricity appeared in wealthy districts, then in commercial centers, then on major streets, then inside homes, then almost everywhere. For a long time, gas lamps continued to exist next to electric lamps. The old world and the new world stood on the same street, sometimes literally only a few meters apart. A lamplighter could walk his route and see the thing that would replace him. Not in theory, not in the newspapers, right in front of him. An electric street light. It shines without him on. It does not wait for his footsteps. It does not need his pole. It does not know the name of the man who lit that corner for 20 years. The profession died slowly. And when a profession dies slowly, every person hopes he will be the exception, that his route will remain, that his experience is still needed, that the city will not forget him. But cities forget quickly. This is not only a story about Old England, and it is not only a story about electricity, it is a story about how a profession disappears. First, it seems permanent. Then a new technology appears. Then people say it will never completely replace a human. Then the technology becomes cheaper, then more convenient, then normal. And then a new generation no longer understands why that profession existed at all. That is what happened to lamplighters. That is what happened to switchboard operators, to scribes, to elevator operators, to human alarm clocks, to the people who delivered ice before refrigerators became common. And now it is happening again. According to forecasts from the World Economic Forum, by 2030, tens of millions of jobs may be displaced, while tens of millions of new ones may appear. On paper, that can even look optimistic. The economy adapts. New roles replace old ones. But for one specific person, the question is completely different. Not, will new professions appear at all? But will one of those new professions be waiting for me? The lamplighter was not against light. He spent his whole life bringing light. That is the tragedy. He was not destroyed by darkness, he was destroyed by better light. In London, gas lamps still exist. Not a huge army of workers, not the old urban system, only the remains of an older world. They are still maintained by people, very few people. One of the last lamplighters walks through the street in the morning with a long pole and puts out a flame that the city no longer needs in order to survive. Now, it is no longer just infrastructure, it is memory. And there is something deeply human in that image, a person continuing to do a job while knowing that after him, almost no one may do it again. Lamplighters disappeared, but many others disappeared too. People who woke workers before alarm clocks, people who connected phone calls by hand, people who cut ice from frozen lakes so cities could store food, people whose professions seemed permanent until one day the world changed without asking for their permission. In the next episode, a profession that now sounds almost like a joke. Before alarm clocks, people paid a stranger to come to their window in the morning and wake them up with a stick, stones, or even peas shot through a tube. The next story is about the human alarm clock. If you want more stories about forgotten jobs, vanished workers, and the inventions that replaced them, subscribe to the channel. Leave a like if this story made you look at progress differently, and write in the comments. Which disappeared profession should we cover next?